Good evening everyone and welcome back to Trinity Competitive Racing. This is Tuesday night silver class action coming to you live from a rather wet Suzuka International Circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix. A Grand Prix that unfortunately in real life was cancelled a couple of weeks ago due to the ongoing COVID-19 situation that's going on in Japan, but that's not going to stop us here in the virtual world. It's not going to stop us in TCR. We're here for the second round of the Silver Class Championship, a championship which is currently being led by STX, the Aston Martin driver who won the season opening Italian Grand Prix last week. And speaking of the Italian Grand Prix, I had a crash at Ascari last week, and another man who unfortunately had a crash at Ascari last week is my co-commentator for tonight from the Golden Class. It's Perry. So Perry, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I do want to bring up that I completed more laps than you did, so I don't know if that makes me better or worse. But yeah, we did crash at the same corner last week. Wet Japanese circuit right now. I'm trying to get messages from a few of our other commentators for the other tiers that are racing tonight. See if there's a little bit of a weather report. We can get a peek into what these guys are expecting in the race. Maybe they're on dry setups at the moment, but yeah, it should be an interesting qualifying to start out.
Yeah, and for these silver class drivers, they had a wet to dry race at the Italian Grand Prix last week, which was pretty difficult for these drivers. Italy is a pretty challenging track in the dry, as Perry and myself did find out, but especially more so in the wet. And I have to say the same thing really about the Suzuka track here as well. This is a circuit that can really catch you out in points. We're just on board with Juan at the moment. He's just come through the first sector, and that is actually one of the sectors of the track where you can have difficulties. And as I say that, Rockstar in the Red Bull has just had a half spin on the pit straight as he was about to start his lap, so show already that are tricky out there in these conditions.
Yeah, they are. I was still riding on board at L1 F1 Juan, and he has found the gravel in Sector 2. Continues on his way. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a learning curve for these guys to, I don't know how much they've practiced, if they have it all on the wet in this game, and it's, you know, each edition of this game is a whole new learning experience and what weather driving, so as we'll see what our silver class guys have in store. But I do think overall as a class they did quite well at Monza for the first week of the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, especially after the early stages of that race when we lost a few drivers and it looked like potentially we weren't going to see too many finishes, but the guys really came through and did a good job to finish the race and give us an exciting finish as well in the Italian Grand Prix that we saw last week. We're just starting to see some times coming in from our drivers, and it looks like pretty much everyone is out on the track at the moment. We've only got 3 or 4 drivers still in the pit lane, but at the moment Wienerdrank has put himself on provisional pole with a 1 minute 38.0, so the times currently are around about 10 seconds off where we'd probably expect them to be in the dry. But maybe if you know, all the drivers are trying to set a time early on, suggests maybe that the conditions could be getting even worse before this session ends, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to see everybody is on the same tire strategy, the intermediate tire as well. So the track is slick. It's not completely soaked. And as the qualifying session rolls on, we should continue to see increased times, although I don't really see anybody on the second laps around. I don't know, maybe it's just everybody's trying to just put some rubber out on the track as Sierra goes fastest, but no one really pushing that hard as of yet.
There's a yellow flag around about the hairpin, I think. Is that Crooner? No, it's... Oh, and Nico John has just been given a 5-place penalty for contact with Sir Charles. So it was actually Nico John there who was stuck at the hairpin, and I guess that Sir Charles was on a flying lap at the same time, and there's obviously been contact between them. So Nico John, unfortunately for him, has been given a 5-place grid penalty. So wherever he qualifies for this race, he will be starting 5 places lower down the order than that, as we see Broomhandle crossing the line in 7th place at the moment in the 1-minute 40s.
Don't want to guesstimate too much, but Sir Charles does not have a front wing. I almost think that's an incident where Nico probably lost it and Sir Charles was on a fast lap, and now, I mean, they'll obviously both come into the pit, but I think Sir Charles made contact initially to a spun around Nico, and that's what the problem was. Unfortunately for Nico, he picks up the penalty, and Sir Charles, he'll have to replace the front wing, but he'll be ready to go once that is replaced.
I think that Sir Charles had already set a lap time, but he might have been going out to you know, set a few laps in a row.
Yeah, we see Wiener Drank, I think, probably did the same thing as one of the 2 drivers we were mentioning. Just lost it on the exit of the hairpin and just over throttled it. Was in second, still is in second, but hit the wall and keeps all 4 wheels on the Red Bull, but lost his front wing.
And he pulls over to the side of the track for one of the Aston Martins coming through. So we've now got STX and Valid Newell out on the track. And one thing I didn't realise last week, as Camden Luca sets a new fastest time for the session, 1 minute 37.6. Valid Newell is actually Mako from last season, which I didn't realise at the time. I thought he was a completely new driver. But yeah, Valid Newell is Mako 11, and oh, as he completely just bumps over the chicane and comes into the pits. I'm not sure that's really the way you want to see a driver getting back into the pits, but never mind, as STX is now starting his first flying lap of this qualifying session, as we've got 9 minutes remaining. STX, the winner of the first round, the Italian Grand Prix, and he'll be looking to make his mark once again in this second round of the season for himself and also for his team Aston Martin, who are currently leading the Constructors' Championship after their first and third in the last round.
And goes STX goes purple sector 1, off to a good start here in this qualifying session. He goes a bit deep on the hairpin, but he gets a terrific exit. It's one of those where you run deep and then it sets you up for the rest of the corner, kind of squaring off the corner, if you will, and allows you to get a better run, which is, again, to the same idea: slow in, fast out. And that it applies in the dry, it applies also in the wet, as STX successfully negotiates the spoon curve here at Suzuka.
Yeah, and onto the back straight before the 130R left-hander, which is usually flat out. It might not be with the track in its current state, but now he's up to the final chicane, the Casio Triangle, where famously Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost came together way back in 1989 in real-life Formula 1, and STX got through there safely and is currently sitting in P7, about a second and a half off the pace at the moment. But we're seeing maybe a couple of drivers who have set more than the one lap on their intermediate tyres, because they don't tend to wear off as quickly as a set of soft tyres will do in the dry. So you can load up a bit more with fuel and get a few more laps out of your quali runs.
Not only that, but I mean, your first lap or so on those intermediate tires, you're going to still want to get some heat into them. And I think that might be what we're seeing, is Camden Luca again pumps the fastest lap, but Blinn right now on his flying lap, trying to set a time back in 17th, has I think set a personal best sector 1, but again, it is his first real run at the moment.
And he's just behind his teammate, Sir Charles. Oh, and Blin has had the same issue that we saw from, oh, who was it earlier? Nico John, I think, and one of the Red Bulls as well. I can't remember which one, but the exit of that hairpin is slippery even in the dry, and in the wet conditions you just have to be so delicate with the traction at that point, and it's caught out Blin. He's probably the third or fourth victim of that corner so far in this qualifying session. Blin, of course, who finished second in Italy, so he got off to a good start in the championship. The man who finished second in the championship back in season 9 of TCR, which was back on the F1 2019 game. He's had a bit of a rocky couple of seasons since then. He did win a race back in season 10, and now Crooner, coming out of the final corner on a hot lap, has just slid off into the gravel on the left hand side. He's managed to keep it almost out of the wall. He may have some slight damage, but he's also going to be completely compromised if he wants to set a time on his second flying lap, because he's got pretty much no speed coming over the start finish line. But we'll see if he can get all the dirt off his tyres and go again.
Yeah, he really lost the back end. I'm kind of watching the delayed replay on the YouTube stream right now, and yeah, just got all sorts of shape, but it's kind of a good thing we have that gravel trap on the outside, able to stop the car before he gets too much damage. Rafa Hulk ready to set a new fastest lap of the session. Goes almost half a second faster than Camden Luca, so he has set the benchmark for the rest of these guys as we get down to crunch time, 5 minutes left in this session.
Yeah, so either the track is improving, or it's just the drivers are getting more confidence with the conditions, as Wienerdrank has backed out of his lap. I think he ran wide at 130R and had to back out, otherwise he would have been penalised for completing a lap there. Crooner does seem to be going for it again, but he's 7/10 down at the moment after the first sector, just coming through the spoon curb, a double left-hander, before you come back towards the main part of the circuit and the over-under section, which is a unique feature of the Suzuka International Circuit within Formula 1. No other track on the calendar has that kind of a feature, and STX has retired from the session, and I believe that he has crashed at the final corner.
He's crashed before the final corner, just absolutely destroyed the wall. Got a little bit out too far wide, and just tried to correct it, could not do so, and yeah, just ends in misery. He was gonna probably go at least 7/10 fast. He was 7/10 under his previous time through sector 2, so he was on the path to making a faster lap, and unfortunately for him now, you know, there's so many guys finishing laps now, he might find himself outside the top 10. But I do want to add that, Chatty Duck, that we are going to have a dry session, so these guys more than likely are all on dry setups.
Yeah, so that will be affecting how the cars are handling in these conditions. If the drivers are aware of the fact that, you know, you have to have your race setup confirmed in qualifying. So, you know, of course you've got a 50% race coming up for these drivers, and therefore you want to set the car up to be at its best in those conditions. So they probably aren't feeling too great right now, the cars, probably lacking a bit of grip, but it's hopefully for the drivers a case of damage limitation now to reap the rewards later on during the race session. But yeah, that's going to be tricky for STX. He might lose a few more positions before this session comes to an end. He's sitting in 10th place right now. We're just watching the Yoppie in the Mercedes, who's currently in 5th place, as Crooner goes P1 with a 36. First man into the 36 is in the qualifying session, and the Yoppie goes P4 with a 37.6. so those times are coming down.
I think it's been about focus and learning to drive on a little bit drier track at the moment. Nico John's putting together a pretty good lap. He's about at the end of sector 2, and of course Valid Newell, we saw one of the two Aston Martin drivers that recorded a podium at Monza in trouble. He's got to put together a good lap right at the end. Right now, sitting in P16.
And Juan de Bru has also retired from the session, and I think looking at the track map, that may have been just after Spoon Corner. He might have just been trying to get a really good exit from there and possibly put down too many revs and hit the wall, but he's out of the session, currently sitting in P12 with a 39.7, his best time. We're just watching Blim Machine at the moment, still sitting in 17th at the moment. We saw his mistake on his first flying lap, which means that he still has yet to set a time, and the only other driver in that position is Valid Newell, or Mako as we otherwise know him as, but he's out on the track as well. Blin coming over the start finish line, he moves up to 8th place, just behind his teammate. And Valid Newell has backed out of his lap because I think he ran wide on the exit of 130R, which I've seen a couple of drivers do. It's a corner that is flat out in the dry, but the drivers probably do have to back off ever so slightly in these conditions coming through there. We are now into the final 30 seconds of this qualifying session. It's currently Krooner and Rafa Hulk on the front row. Camden Luca, who qualified on the front row at Monza last week, is currently sitting in 3rd and looking to improve. The Yuppie has crashed. That's just coming towards the end of Sector 1, towards the top of the hill. Ericsson Ethan has just crashed as well, has he? Or has he retired in the pits? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, Camden Luca is coming up towards the final turn, and now Valid Newell has picked up a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with the Yuppie.
I'm assuming he's hit the Yuppie's dead car on the track.
Yeah, and that's a big... well, that's basically going to put him to the back of the grid if he can't improve on his current time. Camden Luca has gone second. Well, only temporarily. Drank has gone second, and he's so close to the time of Krooner.
Krooner's gonna... yeah, he's coming through the Casio Triangle right now. He was 700ths up, but he loses the back end, headed towards the start-finish line, and will not improve, but we'll see if anybody can match that time.
And we've seen Krooner do that twice in this qualifying session, so he's going to have to get that sorted out for the race. You don't want to be doing that every time you come through the exit of the final corner. But here comes Rafa Holt now, and he moves it up into 3rd.
Well, he just missed it, but Sierra is 0.6 up. Sierra's 0.6 up heading into the final chicane. Would put him P5, I believe, if he does not improve this 3rd sector, but here we go. Gonna be 136. 136, oh, just misses out, 500ths off.
It's very close up there at the front. The top 4, all in the 36, is separated by about a 1/10.5. So that was a pretty exciting conclusion to the qualifying session. Valid Newell did get himself up into 7th place at the end there, but he does have a 5-place grid penalty for hitting the Yuppie when the Yuppie's car had already retired from the session. And there was another driver who did get a penalty as well, but I can't see who it is at the moment. We'll just have to wait and see.
But it is an interesting qualifying result with the 2 Aston Martins finishing 1st and 3rd. Valid Newell will be, like we said, we had that penalty, so he'll be a ways down the order. STX as well will be pretty much right there with him. So they'll have to really put together tremendous effort to try to repeat their double podium.
Yeah, definitely. I think actually that with that 5-place penalty for Valid, he will be starting alongside STX, and it was Nico John, the other man, with a 5-place grid penalty, so he will be starting at the back almost certainly with that one. But here's the grid. Krooner on pole from Wienerdrank, and then Sierra in 3rd place, and look at that barely 0.06 of a second separating the top three. Rafa Holkin P4, Camden Luca and the Yuppie on the third row. Valid Newell in 7th, but of course he has that penalty. So Blin will move up to 7th and his teammate Sir Charles will be in 8th. So an all McLaren row 4. Broomhandle next and Rockstar. STX, as we mentioned, lower down than he would have hoped for. Nico John with his 5th place penalty. Juan, Ericsson to 4 and Halberg at the back to 4 and Halberg quite a bit off the pace as it stands, but hopefully in the dry conditions for the start of the race they will be doing a bit better.
Yeah, just a terrific job from Kruner, and he's got to make up for that DNF from last week. There's plenty of weeks left, but what better of a way to start from that than starting at the point for Japan. You know, a difficult track to pass at, dry or wet regarded, so I'm sure he'll be pleased with his performance in that wet quali session.
Yeah, and he was of course in a winning position in Monza last week before crashing out on the safety car restart, and that was in intermediate conditions as well, so maybe Kruner just needs to get a bit more comfortable on this game in intermediate conditions going forward, but it doesn't look like it's going to be an issue for the race. Conditions looking dry, a bit cloudy overhead, but we do have the understanding from the drivers that it is going to stay dry as the drivers are starting their formation lap now, so we can see the tyre strategies and also see how the grid is shaken up with those grid penalties. Nico John, as we expected, starting at the back of the grid, and it's an Aston Martin lockout on the 6th row with SGX in 11th, Valid Newell in 12th, and they've opted for alternate strategies, which is interesting. And Wienerdrank has just spun on the formation lap in the first sector, which gives possibly an indication of how tricky those sequence of corners can be at this track.
Well, how tricky they can be at, and also starting on the medium tires, he's going to be at a disadvantage at the start regardless, but now he'll sit on the grid for the next minute or so and just have ice cold medium tires while majority of the rest of the grid behind him, or at least immediately behind him, have soft tires. I am a little bit surprised, I think, that most drivers aren't going for the medium. I think it's an easy one-stop strategy regardless if you start on softs or mediums, but I would think that most guys would try to start on the mediums and have a better opportunity to go deeper into the race and maybe even get to throw on a set of softs later on.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is that if this race is anything like last week, we could see early safety cars or early VSCs, and if you're starting on the soft tyres, you have maybe the option to go for a harder compound to get you to the end of the race. But yeah, if everything stays equal and we're pretty much green flag running the whole way, Kruner's car on my screen just completely destroyed itself, and the top three have all been disqualified from the formation lap, so I don't really know what just happened there, but anyway.
Yeah, I thought that was a fast outlap and a formation lap, just incredibly quick, and then it ends like that. So who knows what we're gonna get here, Chatty Duck.
Yeah, and the front three are all going to have slightly colder tyres than everyone else. I've just seen that back on the stream. I really have no idea what was going on there. But the back of the grid is just forming up. Nico John starting in 17th in the Williams. And we should be moments away from the start of round 2 in the championship. Why can I not get a good camera angle? I've got one now. The lights are coming on. 5 red lights for the Japanese Grand Prix in silver class, and they go out And it's away we go for the Japanese Grand Prix, and Kruna looks to have got off the line well. Sira in the Alfa Romeo has got the jump on Wienerdrank, and so has Camden Luca, but Kruna, no, straight away into the wall. He's lost it on the exit of turn 1, and that's dropped into the back. Sira leads this race from Camden Luca, and Wienerdrank in 3rd place. And there's a bit of jostling down in the midfield. Valid Newell has had a good start up to 8th place. And then STX is right on the back of Ericsson, the teammate of Sira, who's currently leading. And Camden Luca maybe just dropped a couple of positions there as well. Blim Machine is up to 4th. He's had a good start. And Ericsson and Rockstar. Oh my goodness, a big crash at the back it looks like. Let's just see with Kruna. Yeah, Rockstar and Ericsson both off on the left-hand side at the Degners.
I think they had just a massive coming together. We're going to get a VSC, and would not be surprised if we saw the full safety car. There it is. So Sira has been had a terrific start, stayed out of trouble, and he had just a bizarre start from Kruna. I guess he misjudged turn 1, which he had a terrific start. He didn't really need to put himself into any trouble into the opening corner, and instead just I think broke too late, and now finds himself working his way up from 15th.
Yeah, just more problems for Kruna whilst leading the race. At least he's not out this time, but he did hit the wall and he was going backwards, so he may have some rear wing damage from that. In fact, this visually broken on the rear wing, and that's possibly a little bit lucky for Kruna. But safety car on the start of lap 2, and now STX has spun at turn 1 as well, so I think the guys need to just calm things down a little bit here. We're under safety car conditions. There's no need to go flat out at this point. Just keep it together, keep it on track, and wait for a moment later on to be flying into turn 1 like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been an interesting start to this race, and I think fortunately for the it's so hard because I'm trying to keep track of the order and it keeps changing with the as they get to the end of sector 1.
Yeah, the
STX seems to be all right. He's just lost some positions.
Yeah, unfortunately the glitch from last year's game with the leaderboard and the positions shifting around in the early laps of the race has not been fixed, so we still have those problems at the start of the race. I'm tempted sometimes to just turn the leaderboard off, quite frankly, and just look at the track map, but it's not always very easy to follow what's going on when you do that, especially once the leaderboard resolves itself, which with the safety car being out on track, the game will have time to do that before we get back to green flag running. I'm a little surprised, Perry, to not have seen anyone pit for a change of tyres with this safety car to possibly try and get their one pit stop out of the way and go to the end of the Grand Prix. I feel like that would be a reasonable strategy to expect.
I mean, I think, yeah, if you're in the back, but right now we only have 2 drivers on softs in the back, and that's Broomhandle, Krooner, and I think they think conditions, and that you know, that could just be a better time. Their softs, like you said, they could make it to the end on a set of hards, but they, I think, feel obligated to try to stick it out on softs, and you know, the likelihood of us seeing another safety car with 15 guys left is pretty high, I would think.
Yeah, especially the amount of incidents we've seen so far in qualifying and the race. Even though we're only on lap 3, we've seen at least 3 incidents so far that I can think of. Just want to say thank you to everyone who's watching the stream at the moment. We've got 19 watching so far, so thank you so much, guys. Please do comment and leave a like on the video, and of course subscribe to the channel if you're new and want to see more TCR racing action. We're in round 2 of season 12 here in the silver class. We've got the golden class drivers racing tomorrow night. Also at the Japanese Grand Prix, when you can see Perry racing in that one. And then on Thursday night it'll be the platinum class drivers, including myself, and we're hopefully both gonna have a better time than we did last week with our DNFs. But anyway, I'll stop bringing that up now. Let's move on.
yeah, for sure. I will mention we have 7 different teams occupying the top 8 positions, and 6 different teams occupying the top 6 positions, with Sir Charles, the second McLaren, right now in 7th. So a lot of diversity in that top end of the field, a lot of parity. That's what you like to see. Teams pretty well balanced so far as we're going to get ready to go. Sierra is not really backing the pack up at the moment, so we'll see how this safety car restart goes.
Yeah, and Wienerdrank and Rafa Hulk are very close to the back of Sierra. Valid Newell has picked up a 3-second time penalty somehow. Oh my goodness, are we going to go 3 wide into turn 1 on the restart? Looks like Wienerdrank has got the advantage and he's taken the lead away from Sierra, and then it's Rafa Hulk with Camden Luca on his tail. The Yuppie next. Oh, and there was a bit of side-by-side there between Sierra and Camden Luca. They did a good job to hold it together, and now the Yuppie has managed to move himself up ahead of the Williams driver of Camden Luca, who currently has 2 McLaren drivers on his tail, Blin Machine and Sir Charles. So Camden's had an interesting start to this race. It feels like he's been a bit up and down in the positions, currently sitting in P5, and with a little bit of defending to do here from Blin, who's of course sitting in 2nd place in the championship at the moment after his podium.
And Nico Johns just had a big coming together with STX. Sorry, the STX had the inside, and Nico John just came across. I don't think he realized STX was alongside him yet, and Nico John just has been collected into the wall. We did see on the restart as well, Valid Newell had an incident, lost his front wing, and so he is now went to the pits and is back out on the circuit. May have picked up a penalty in the pits.
It's hard to keep up with everything that's going on at the moment. There's just so many incidents, so many battles. Up at the front, Wienerdrank has set the fastest lap of the race. He's done a 1:31.8, and the 2 medium tyres drivers at the front, as Sierra runs wide in turn 1 but manages to stay ahead of the Yuppie for the time being. But Sierra, since that safety car restart, has been struggling a bit, and Rafa Hulk is on the tail of Wienerdrank as they come into the middle sector on lap 5, and he may be looking to make a move fairly soon. I think DRS is going to be enabled either on this lap or the next, the 3rd lap after the safety car has come in. So quite a few drivers at the moment who are potentially within striking distance to make a move, as Broomhandle has overtaken Juan. I believe that's at the hairpin. He has moved up into 8th place.
And when I go back, talking about the restart, Sierra I don't think he backed the pack up enough, and Wienerdrank and Rafa were just able to time the jump perfectly and make the overtake, as looks like Valid Newell has gone off again, this time on Degba 2.
Yeah, Valid Newell sitting in last place at the moment, not having a great time of it, and Nips Steven, or STX as he's now known, right on the tail of Juan and trying to make a move going into the final chicane, and now trying to get alongside into turn 1, but he doesn't have the straight line speed at the moment. And Kroona setting a fastest lap, just showing how good his pace could be tonight, even though he's had a bad start. He's in 11th at the moment, and then Juan has and Juan and STX have spun in tandem. Kind of looked like they were having their own separate incidents there, but they both went off at the same corner. Juan has gone again, and the result of all that is that STX has ultimately, well, he's not gained a place actually. He's overtaken Juan but fallen behind Kroona, who's up into P9. but it's just carnage on track at the moment.
Yeah, Juan lit up those tires for a second time, or else he would have been off and away. STX did an awesome job to get away without spinning again. But yeah, Juan still is having some fun at the end of Sector 1. Unfortunately, not a lot of fun, but just some off-roading in his AlphaTauri.
We've now got a bit of a train forming behind Rafa Hulk in second place on his medium tyres. I don't know if he made a mistake or if the soft tyre runners behind been able to warm up their tyres and pick up the pace a little bit, but DRS is now enabled. Rafa Hulk has gone defensive on the pit straight, but then gone back over to the racing line, and that has pretty much allowed Sira to make the move up into second place, and he can now go off in pursuit of Wienerdrank and the race lead. But you've still got the Yuppie, Camden Luca, Blin and Sir Charles in this train behind Rafa Hulk, and they are all on the soft tyres.
Yeah, I think they've just been pretty patient. A great move for Sira, though. He's regathered himself on the soft tires after losing some spots on the restart, and with the DRS made it look easy into turn 1, and now we'll see how well he does cutting into Wienerdrank. He hasn't made too much ground in that first sector, but Wienerdrank as well has been able to save ERS, has a little bit of an advantage now over the rest of the field behind him.
Yeah, and one thing that's really been apparent so far in this game, apart from like the curbs that I think we've mentioned already, is that the tyre wear really isn't so dramatic on this game compared to previous versions. So let's just see for a moment here if Rafa Hulk can come back at Sira into the final chicane. He can't at the moment, but he's going to have the opportunity again on the pit straight with DRS. He's quite low on his overtake, and what has just happened on my screen? Rafa Hulk has just driven through and underneath Sira. Sira's car was up in the air and then it came back down, and neither of them seem to have any damage, so I'm completely bemused by that. I have no idea what has just happened, but the net result is that Rafa Hulk has retaken second place away from Sira.
I'm not sure if Sira just briefly disconnected or what, but on my screen he had a red X and Rafa just drove past him, so I think that was maybe the issue, is that Sira's disconnected on Rafa's screen and just yeah, I don't know, playing some weird moments there, but nevertheless, Rafa, great job to get P2 back, and we've had a few more spins in the back of the field, but nothing too major as of yet. We stay green with the pretty much the top 7 still in tandem of each other.
Yeah, Blin has lost touch slightly with the top 5, and Sir Charles is heaping the pressure on his teammate at the moment, currently sitting about half a second behind. It might be a little bit too early in the race yet for those two to decide amongst themselves whether they want to let Sir Charles go and possibly push on a bit with the pace that he might have, because Blin is still keeping relatively close order at this stage as Rafa Hulk sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:30.8. So maybe we're just starting to come into the phase where the medium tyres are becoming quicker than the softs.
I think we're right about at that moment. We've seen, I think Sira started to fall off the pace now. Yuppie is trying to catch Sira for third, and it is really difficult as Sira, oh, he lost it back in and goes into the wall. Oh, and gets tagged. I don't know how he hasn't DNF'd. I don't know how.
Oh, and he's been hit again, has he? That might have been another weird connection issue, because it looked to me like Crooner just hit Sira's car, but he's not got any damage, so I think that was a visual glitch. But I'm pretty sure Sira is out of the race because his tyre was definitely not attached to his car anymore when that happened. So Sira's out of the race, and that has promoted Blin up into the top 5, although Blin actually picked up a penalty in all that as well. Said that he corner cut and gained a place. I imagine that that will have been him going off track to avoid Sira's car, and I think that he'll probably appeal that and most likely get it removed after the race.
I don't see how Sira got hit by somebody, and I think he must have got hit by Sir Charles, who's into the pits. But yeah, I was just thinking, I didn't really see any wing damage on anybody, and no, that's just Sir Charles actually changing tires. But that was a bizarre incident, to say the least. Nevertheless, everybody comes out, for the most part, outside of Sira, looking pretty decent. And Sir Charles with that undercut, we'll see how he tracks out and where he'll stack up for the rest of the top front runners.
Yeah, this has been a bizarre incidents kind of race so far. We've had 10 laps and we've seen plenty of moments that have double taking, wondering what whether I need to cut back on some types of beverage or whatever. But at the moment things have started to settle down a little bit towards the front. We've still got Wienerdrank and Rafa Hulk running within a second of each other, but now Sir Charles has come in. I wonder if his teammate and Camden Luca and the Yuppie will be making a pit stop at the end of this lap to respond to Sir Charles, who may have the undercut at this stage. He's got about 4 seconds of clear air in front of him, so let's just see here. The Yuppie comes in. Yuppie. Camden stays out.
That's a good move from the Yuppie, though. I mean, the undercut is going to work pretty quickly here. Crooner also is into the pits, but we'll see where the Yuppie then cycles out. And you got to expect, too, these guys will cycle in front of Wienerdrank and Rafa Hulk when they have to pit, but those guys will be on soft tires, so they should have an advantage, even though they will be a little bit slower. As Yuppie, he'll come out well ahead of Sir Charles.
Yeah, I think the Yuppie was ahead of Sir Charles anyway, but that gap now just under 4 seconds. I don't know quite what it was before, as there's yellow flags in the first sector. Not quite sure why that is, but STL 8th place, the man who won at Monza, not quite having such a good day at the moment in the Japanese Grand Prix. He's yet to make a pit stop, and when he does, that will drop him back a few places, possibly out of the points. But Crooner has managed to mount a bit of a recovery here after his dreadful start to this race, where he was spinning in turn 1 and dropped to the back. He's now in 7th place on fresh medium tyres, so he's definitely on for some points at the least as it stands, and who knows, his pace is right up there, so he may even be able to get back into the top 5 by the end of this race.
Yeah, he's made up some big positions and continues to cut in some time. Camden Luca now exiting the pits, and he'll come out behind the Yuppie. It appears so, at least. As the Yuppie will fly by as Camden Luca exits pit road.
And Sir Charles setting a fastest lap at about the same time, but he's still behind the Williams. Blin machine has carried on, and actually I've realised as well that with Blin's penalty, he's going to have to serve it in his pit stop, because it's a 5-second penalty, and he will just serve that in his pits. The crew that he has will not service his car until 5 seconds has elapsed, so he can't really challenge that penalty anyway, I don't think. So that's quite unfortunate for him, but he's just trying to make the most of some clear air at the moment to pump in some decent lap times on some pretty old soft tyres, you have to say. 11 laps he's been on these tyres, but looking at his sector 2 time, only about 1/10 of a second off his personal best, so there's no significant signs of his pace dropping off with the tyre wear, as he is now coming into the pits.
I mean, eventually you're just going to lose so much time as will, yeah, there's that 5-second penalty he's getting rid of, so he'll probably come out maybe right about where Crooner is, maybe a little bit ahead of Crooner, but he'll be behind his teammate Sir Charles, definitely. Could be a good race off pit road with Crooner now just entering the front straight.
Yeah, let's just ride on board with Crooner for a second. There is Blin on the right hand side trying to gain some speed coming into turn 1. It's potentially quite a dangerous pit exit here at Suzuka, because you come from the right hand side and then turn 1, if you're on the racing line, is near enough flat out, or at least the first stage of it. So if two drivers come together at a difficult point, then it's not difficult to imagine the kind of crush that could occur, but no worries on this occasion. Crooner is just behind Blin Machine, and this now is the battle for 6th place. We've still got Wiener Drank and Rafa Hulk out front on their mediums that they started this race on, which I guess is not a surprise. They'll be looking to extend that stint for a few more laps yet, and then we will see if they can go onto the soft tyres and have some good pace at the end.
Yeah, for sure, is Crooner, who got up on the inside curb at Spoon, lost a little bit of time. We'll see if he can get some DRS on Blin, maybe have a run for 6th place. That's really the only super close battle we have on the track at the moment. We have quite a few guys now pretty evenly spread out after the pit stops. The guys who made an undercut cleared their opponents by about a second down the list. So Crooner does get DRS, but not close enough to make a move for P6.
Oh, this is an interesting camera angle. We're just on board with Crooner there for a moment, kind of on his front nose cone. That was a new one that I certainly haven't seen before. Gave a slightly different perspective on things, but Blin and Crooner both managing their ERS quite well at the moment, as we can still see Syrah's tyre from his accident earlier is still on the track, at least from this perspective, but I don't think it's worrying any of the drivers out there at the moment, as we are just over halfway into this race. This is the closest battle really on track at the moment, although as I say that, Blin has pulled out a second now pretty much on Crooner, and it's actually Juan and Halberg battling over the final point at the moment, who are the closest two drivers on track.
Yeah, they will be duking it out. They'll also have to pit again, as well as STX, so not a good day whatsoever for the Aston Martin guys. Meanwhile, up front, I'm just taking a look at this distance to the leader gap between the Yuppie and the top two, and it stayed right about at 23 seconds, so it'll be pretty close once the top two need to come into the pits, as we get a caution invalid. I think it was a Mercedes actually. Yuppie's lost it.
Oh yeah, he's stuck on the around the exit of. Oh, and we've got a virtual safety car for that.
That is interesting. I'm not sure the top two are going to be able to benefit from it though. But he did, Yuppie did lose front wing, so he has, yeah, he's going to drop way out of 3rd place, and that's going to benefit the rest of the guys on back. And just a little mistake there in the turns 1 and 2 for the Yuppie.
And that's given Wiener Drank and Rafa Hulk a bit more of a buffer to 3rd place, because you did say a moment ago, Perry, that gap was steady around about 21 seconds, and now that gap back to Camden Luca is around the 30-second mark. So I think that these two could comfortably pit at this point and hold position, but they're deciding to carry on for the time being as we're back to green flag racing.
Yeah, I mean, they did just gain a bunch of time. I don't know if it was Camden Luca. He might have picked up damage as well on that incident. I think that's why. Yeah, he does have damage. He's missing an end plate. Really more than that. Just like a whole right side of his wing is gone, so he might have been collected in that incident with Yuppie, which is why they lost an extra 10 seconds under that virtual safety car. So wow, Sir Charles gets gifted third place, and though he might not have enough time to catch the leaders, or won't have the opportunity to when they pit for softs, nevertheless, you'll take a free podium spot.
Yeah, and McLaren now finding themselves in a good position, third and fourth at the moment. We were wondering earlier whether or not they would have to have some team orders to switch the order around to give Sir Charles the track position, but he didn't need any team orders to get it because of Blin's time penalty. Blin has been setting a good pace since then, since switching to his medium tyres as well. I saw a fastest lap flash up for him not too long ago, and he's certainly holding pace with Sir Charles, and he may even be closing up ever so slightly. And Crooner, surprisingly, can't keep up with Blin, and Crooner was of course the pole sitter for this race.
Yeah, Blin has just done a terrific job back there in fourth, and you can get your head down with that penalty he had to serve, but probably not even a rightful penalty to get in the first place, but nevertheless he served it, and he has been right now flying right there in fourth place, holding fourth place. So he does have a few lap better tires than his teammate, and maybe we'll see a McLaren battle for the final podium spot.
So I've just jumped on board with Syrah, who is not out of the race somehow. He's missing his front left. He's missing his front left wheel and suspension, but he's still going. Down in 14th place, 30 seconds adrift, and that's surely the fastest F1 car on three wheels that I've ever seen. But anyway, let's just forget we saw that and focus on the battles further forward. But yeah, as we said, that gap between Sir Charles and Blin is coming down. It's around 3.5 seconds now, so Blin really showing some good pace.
Well, the top two are both in, so neither opt to try to go for the under or overcut. It'll just be settled on the track. Great stop for Wiener Drank, in and out. Rafa Hulk will throw on the soft as well and fall into second.
And this surely puts them in a position to battle it out amongst themselves for the win in the final 9 or 10 laps of this race. Sir Charles is still nowhere near them. Oh, and what's happened? Wiener Drank's gone off. Wiener Drank's gone off at turn 1 and lost the lead to Rafa Hulk. Another victim of that first corner here at Suzuka, and Wiener Drank's gone off again. I think that his tyres are probably a bit dirty now, and also those curbs have potentially caught him out, and that has given Sir Charles the opportunity, if he can have a good clean lap here and stay within a second, he might be able to move up into second place.
I think the second off for Wiener Drank was to avoid Juan and the other AlphaTauri who'd spun and was just sitting in the middle of the road. So that might have been part of it, why he went off again. But yeah, just an unbelievable set of circumstances for Wiener Drank. And that's not the first time, and I think it has something to do with just entering the track from pit lane into turn 1. The drivers just aren't accustomed to it on this game with the cold tires, and that leaves him out 7 seconds behind. He's started to pick up the pace in front of Sir Charles, but I don't know if that's a deficit one can make up in 9 laps.
Oh, and now Valid Newell has spun it across the Degners. Just jumped on board with the Yuppie, who was close up behind the Aston Martin, and Valid Newell lost it over the curbs. And well, he's only lost the one position. I don't think he's got any damage from it either, but that was yet another dramatic moment in this crazy Japanese Grand Prix. And I've got to be honest, Perry, all these collisions and things that we've seen, are making me feel quite nervous about racing here this week.
I mean, it is a difficult track, to say the least. I mean, you know, silver tier, you know, build your way up from silver to gold to platinum, but these guys are, for the most part, experienced drivers, and you see as many of we've seen struggle. You know, almost the entire field at one point has gone off the track. So, yeah, it is quite worrying, I think, for the rest of the tiers. To get another yellow flag, as we mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was for Tafor, I think, getting out of the way of everyone in the middle sector, because he's got the leaders coming through, the likes of Wiener Drank, Sir Charles Blin and Kruner coming through that section of the track relatively close together. Looks like Wiener Drank has managed to pick up his pace after his spin, so Sir Charles has dropped back, and Blin is still closing in on Sir Charles for third place. That gap now still hovering, it's around 3 seconds as Wiener Drank sets the fastest lap of the race. But yeah, Blin still closing in slowly but surely, but with 7 or 8 laps remaining in this race, I don't know that he's closing that gap significantly enough at the moment to mount any kind of a challenge. But the amount of mistakes we've seen today, who knows what could still happen in these final 7 laps.
Well, I'm watching Wiener Drank. He was just 4/10 quicker than Rafa Hulk, and he's got another fastest lap, so by this time STX back in 8th place. But I don't know. Like I said, those guys are on the same strategy. 6 seconds is a long ways to make up. I think Wiener Drank probably has the pace, but again, just too big of a mistake. Rafa Hulk's just got to keep it together, keep it on the track, hit your marks, set competitive lap times, and you should be set for the win.
And we've just seen Camden Luke overtake Broomhandle for 6th place, and he had a bit of a wobble in turn 1 when he was making that move, but he held it together. So he's moved up a spot, and STX, I think he was down in about 8th place before he made his pit stop, so I guess it's just with the gaps between the drivers towards the back, and also some of the mistakes that we've seen being made have allowed him to be a bit higher up in the field at this stage than he might have otherwise been. And he's on the soft tyres, he's got good pace, so you never know whether or not he can make up a few positions yet in this Grand Prix, although looking at it, the highest he could hope for is probably P6, because then it's a 19-second difference between Camden Luca and Kruner in P5. So SGX in 8th place, Rafa Holt currently leading by 6.3 seconds from Wiener Drank, and then it's Sir Charles and Blin Machine in the McLarens.
For as many mistakes that we've seen, there hasn't been a lot of retirements. Just, you know, there's the 3 we've seen in pretty much the first, the start and then the restart. So everybody is, even though we've had the mistakes, they've kept it on the track and have continued on the race. I guess that does exclude Sierra, whose car is really dead, but it's mysteriously the first 3-wheeled F1 car.
Yep. We'll just try and ignore that one the best that we can. Tafor should watch out because he's
yeah, we've had a 6-wheel F1 car before, but I don't think there's been a 3-wheel F1 car.
No. Well, I guess you could argue that Hamilton at the end of the British Grand Prix last year, when he had his puncture, was basically on 3 wheels, but that was maybe for half a lap, and he wasn't particularly quick while he had them on, as opposed to what we've seen from Sierra's car. But Juan has just had a problem because he's missing his front wing, and he's got the leaders coming through, and I don't know what just happened there, but he hit a bump and the front end went flying up. I don't know that I've ever seen a race like this before, Perry, with the amount of just strange things that we've seen.
He did a pretty good job on my screen of keeping it out of the way. But yes, he did some off-roading and almost looked like he was going through some sort of like bike jump, if you will, dirt bike jump there. So sturdy car he's got to keep going. Back in 14th now.
So we've got about 5 laps to go in the Silver Class Japanese Grand Prix round 2 of the championship. Thank you so much to everyone who is still watching and has seen some of the craziness unfolding with us tonight. Let us know down in the comments what you think has been the craziest craziest moment from this race so far. I think seeing Cyril on 3 wheels probably does take the cake for me at this stage. But I'd just like to take a moment as well to give a shout out to our affiliate sponsors, Fanatec. You can use a link down in the description to go to the Fanatec website and use the TCR code to access some of their great racing gear as we see STX overtake Broomhandle for P7.
Yeah, great move from STX as the Yuppie is apparently back into the pits and putting on another fresh set of softs, so he might just be going for the fastest lap of the race. He has the space to do so. Ballad Newell is quite a ways back in P10, so I don't think he was going to lose a position, just decided to throw on the soft tires and get that bonus point.
Just seen a comment from Deathwish Tricky in the chat, and just as well thanks to everyone sending in your comments tonight. It's been good to keep an eye on those throughout the race. But Kruna is on the hunt and he's currently sitting P5 as he has been for quite a while now, and I think that gap to Blin is coming down. It's now 1.4 seconds, and the gap between Sir Charles and Blin has grown quite significantly as well, so maybe Blin has used up the best of his medium tyres and is potentially starting to struggle with only a handful of laps left, as Valid Newell picks up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting, which is a little bit surprising given that we're running regular corner cutting for this track tonight. But the stewards do keep an eye on corner cutting and extensions when we do run regular corner cutting. We will be at the Canadian Grand Prix next week, and that will be the first time this season that we do have strict corner cutting rules in effect.
I do want to mention, after STX made that pass, he went off in Sector 1 and Broomhandle got past and back through up to 7th place, so STX has a little bit of time, not very much time, about 4 laps to try to make up from his mistake, but he has Broomhandle in his sight 2.5 seconds up the road.
That's going to be frustrating for him, having done all that work, although he's closing in very quickly once again. That gap's now almost under a second already, and it was only a moment ago that gap was 2.5 seconds, so STX clearly on a bit of a mission at the moment, and so is Kruna. That gap is almost under a second to Blin Machine, which will give him DRS as we come to the final stages of the Japanese Grand Prix. And STX so nearly losing the car on the exit of 130R, and that would have been curtains if he had lost control there, but by the skin of his teeth he kept it on track, and he might still have a chance to get Broomhandle once again.
That's some great off-roading. He got off the throttle enough to not spin the rear tires onto the grass, and lives for another day, lives for another 3 laps. Even after that incident, I mean, he only lost a few tenths in the moment, and now is almost back to a second behind the Alpine of Broomhandle.
We see the Yoppie setting the fastest lap. We mentioned that he pit in for fresh soft tyres, and now Valid Newell is doing the same, so maybe he fancies a shot at fastest lap as well. But Crooner is on a good lap at the moment, 0.3 of a second quicker at the end of sector 2, and as they come down to the start finish line, he is within DRS range of Blin Machine. He's still 0.9 back though, and they're both running low on ERS, so it's not really much in the way of a power boost for either of these guys at the moment. But Crooner now half a second separating these two. STX as well, close up again behind the back of Broomhandle. So as we saw 2 or 3 laps ago, a chance for STX to make a position.
Broomhandle just has been struggling on those old mediums, as STX that time makes it stick and secures 7th, so we'll see if he can keep it scot-free the rest of the way. But yeah, it should be a great battle. Crooner's got to the back of Blin Machine. He'll have DRS down the front straight, and it will just be a terrific fight towards the finish. The rest of the field pretty well evened up, as Rafa Hulk will start the final lap in just a few moments.
Yeah, Crooner's got about just over 20% ERS. He's about 10% better off than Blin Machine at this stage, but this is possibly the last chance that Crooner's going to have, given the nature of this track. This is probably the best overtaking spot. You see Blin's rear light flashing, which means that he is running low on ERS, but Crooner just can't close that gap enough. He gets to about 0.3 of a second, and well, as we start the last lap, he's so close to the back of Blin, but I don't really know, unless he can pull something off really incredible. I'm not sure where this move is going to be possible for Crooner.
Broomhandle will still have DRS on STX for 7th, but I think STX got a better exit into the front straight, and yeah, we'll keep 7th place for now.
Crooner doesn't go for it into the hairpin. Oh, and he's lost it! No, Crooner! Oh, after all the hard work he's done.
Can he limp it? He says 21 seconds on 6th. Can he limp it back for 5th place?
Well, that was the last possible action I think that we were going to see there. Crooner losing it there, but at the front, Rafa Hulk has driven a superb race and is going to win the second round of the Silver Class season in Japan, ahead of Wiener Drank in the Red Bull. And Sir Charles will make up for his disappointment from last week's race with a podium here. And Blin, another good result for him. He finished 2nd in Monza, as we're seeing cars in the background just crashing as they finish the race. But Blin, a 2nd and a 4th place for him so far in this season, and Crooner will finish in 5th place. I did see him though, I think, reset to track when he was, after he'd had his crash, so there might be something for the stewards to say about that. Camden Luca has also binned it coming up to the line. There's a collection of cars going off at the end of the race. Nips Stephen as well tried to crash, but the AI managed to keep it all in a straight line for him. And then it was Broomhandle in 8th place. The Yuppie is going to finish down in 9th, and Valid Newell is in 10th, but he's already finished because he was a lapped car. So here comes the Yuppie, the final driver to take the checkered flag in the Japanese Grand Prix. Driver of the day has been given to Sir Charles. Perry, would you agree with that, or who do you have a recommendation or an idea of who you think driver of the day is?
I would agree. Sir Charles did a terrific job. I think his teammate as well, Blin, just awesome job to serve the penalty and still battle and finish 4th place. Just yeah, terrific job by the McLaren drivers to finish third and fourth, but as well, you can't take anything away from our winner tonight, Rafa Hulk. Just stayed out of trouble, did a terrific job. Made up missed opportunity for Wiener Drank when he made a mistake, and for the most part, he was one of the few guys that we didn't see have any sort of offs or incidences. So that's fitting that he ends up winning the Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's been the kind of race where less screen time is probably actually a good thing, because there's just been so much drama happening that you're better off just quietly going about your business and keeping things together, which is what Rafa Holt was able to do. Wiener Drank had his moment, of course, after the pit stops, which ultimately cost him a chance at winning the race, but he still picks up a podium. And then Sir Charles getting that final podium spot. 13 drivers finished in the end. We did have 4 retirements: Swan, Nico, John, Rockstar and Ericsson, Ethan. But I wonder, Perry, if we're able to get the top 3 drivers into the party to have a quick chat about the race from their perspective.
Yeah, I'm in the process of adding them, right?
Oh, I think Perry's just left. Or he's invited me to a different party, maybe. Let's just have a look. So Perry, I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So, yeah, after the top 3, it was Blinn finishing in 4th, Kruner in 5th, Camden Luca in 6th, STX 7th, Broomhandle in 8th, the Yuppie in 9th and getting the fastest lap, and then Valid Newell finished down in 10th place in the Aston Martin, and then Halberg, Sirra and Tafour finishing outside the points. Sirra wasn't really in that race, as we saw. He crashed, and then for some reason his car didn't retire, although it was missing a wheel on the front. So I've just been invited to another party. I'm just going to see if that is the one I want to be in. Let's have a look. So for now we'll just wait until he chooses to join. Yep. And once again I am stuck at the race results screen. I can't get back to the main menu for some reason. I don't know why that keeps happening. But while we're waiting, we can speak to Sir Charles, I think, because he did just join. So congratulations on your first podium of the season. You were on for a good result last week towards the latter stages of the race, but then you had an unfortunate incident towards the end, but you did manage to get on the podium this time around. How was the race from your perspective?
Just a little bit, I guess a little bit chaotic. Nothing really necessarily happened around me, but I got past a lot of cars on the side of the track. So, but yeah, main thing, after last week, after shooting myself in the foot last week, it's kind of a relief to get on the podium. Even it was a bit of a fortuitous one. So, but you take them however you can get them, I guess.
Yeah, and did you ever feel, because we saw that Wiener Drank had a problem after his pit stop onto the softs, and you were quite close behind him at that point, but did you ever feel like you were going to be able to make an overtake there, or was it just a case of holding on to 3rd place?
Yeah, I I thought at first, maybe he had wing damage or something, but then he saw he was moving pretty good, and at that point it was just, I knew he was on soft, so I was just trying to, stay with him as long as possible and just try and, maybe get some DRS. I know there's only one DRS straight here, but maybe some slipstream. Essentially use him to help me, get a couple good laps in to help pull away from Blinn, who was, we were swapping lap times there for a while, so, yeah, it really wasn't much looking forward in terms of those two this race. So, yeah.
Perry, do you have any questions for Sir Charles?
I guess how much practice did you put in before this race, and how did you avoid some of the big trouble spots?
Yeah, I put in a lot of practice hours. Actually, I was really frustrated last week, so I remember, I had to pretty much go to bed right after the race. But I remember the next day, I just started doing practice laps at Japan just because I was kind of pissed off at myself. So a lot of practice. Unfortunately, the rain kind of messed up my qualifying. I thought I put in some decent laps, but obviously it was just only good enough for P9 really. But I think if I would have started near the front, I think it would have been more in contention, I guess, to really challenge for the win rather than just essentially picking up the pieces, if you will. So again, I'm happy with the result, but kind of wish it wasn't raining in qualifying.
Yeah, for sure. Well, congratulations on P3.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully we'll see you back on the podium sooner rather than later, because it looks like you've definitely had the pace so far to be up there. But yeah, good luck for the next round in Canada. So now we will move on to our second place man, Wiener Drank, who...
Hello.
Hey, I mean, you probably had a pretty good chance to win this race tonight, but...
Oh, I was thinking that was my race to lose because I had the pace and I was just misjudged how cold the tires were coming out of the pits.
Yeah, so was that really what all it came down to, was just cold tires?
Oh yeah, I went into the corner like normal and I didn't slow down enough, and the whole rear end just came out from underneath me.
But how was the rest of the race for you? Like you seem to have pretty good pace, and you were right up there, of course, in the front.
I felt like I had really good pace at this track. It's one of my favorite tracks, I guess. I mean, in time trials it wasn't, but in the race I have better race pace than qualifying pace. Yeah, I felt like it went pretty well.
Yeah, definitely can't complain with a podium, your first podium of the season, I believe.
Yeah, it is. I was hoping for first, man. I was really hoping. Once I saw that virtual safety car come out, and I saw that I had a pretty big gap to third place for a pit, I knew I could win this race. But it looks like it wasn't meant to be.
Perry, any questions?
I mean, kind of the same question. You decided to go for the medium tires. Did that strategy work out as well for you as you planned it to? I mean, you and Rafa Hawk seem to just be pretty much neck and neck up to the pit stop. So
yeah, those mediums, they had really good pace on them. They felt like they were softs pretty much. I was flying on those mediums. I once had I think a 2-second lead on Rafa, but he caught back up and he couldn't gain on me, and then I couldn't gain on him when I spun. I couldn't gain on him anymore. We were kind of both equal pace the entire race.
for sure. Well, congratulations. Obviously, I think you had the pace for the win, but P2 is not that bad either.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, well done. And now I believe we also have the winner tonight, Rafa Hulk, in the AlphaTauri. So congratulations to you on your first victory of the season in a pretty bizarre, crazy Japanese Grand Prix that we've seen tonight. But you were pretty much a constant up there towards the front, battling it out with Wienerdrank, and then of course he made his mistake after the pit stops, which gave you the lead. So, have you heard what I said, or should I start again? No, that's fine. But yeah, just how did you feel about the race? Yeah, and once that happened, was it quite straightforward for you to hold on to the lead? I guess you had quite a significant gap then to Wienerdrank as well. I've just seen in the chat, Rafa, that I think your audio might not be set to shared, because unfortunately the stream can't hear you. But we'll try and get that resolved to next time. But apologies to everyone on the stream about that. But I guess we'll leave it there. But I mean, I can say congratulations, Rafa, on a really an excellent race, and hopefully a sign of good things to come for you in this season's championship. A win at certainly one of the hardest tracks on this year's game. So yeah, absolutely. So thanks to Rafa Holt, thanks to our podium finishers tonight for an excellent race, and to everyone else for an excellent and crazy race that we've witnessed here. Thanks to everyone who's been watching on the stream, on YouTube and on Twitch. We are on both platforms now. You can find us on Twitch at eTrinity Racing, as well as our YouTube channel Trinity Competitive Racing. Thank you to all the drivers, all the stewards, all the volunteers, everyone involved with this league. And also thank you very much to my co-commentator tonight, Perry. It's been good to have you with me once again, and look forward to seeing how you get on tomorrow night in Golden Class as well.
Thanks, Chatty. I thought we did a pretty good job of trying to get a hold of everything that was happening, so great job on your end as well. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. It's been likewise a lot of fun trying to keep up with all the mayhem that was going on there tonight. But yeah, once again, thank you very much, everyone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night at the same time, 8:45 Eastern Standard Time, for the Golden Class Grand Prix in Japan, and then on Thursday 8:45 Eastern Standard Time once again for the Platinum Class Round 2 of the Season 12 Championship, and then we'll be back same time next week here for the Silver Class Canadian Grand Prix from the Montreal circuit. But for now, have a great evening, and we will see you guys all very soon. Take care.